Mr. Obama hasn't planned any public appearances next week. But Mr. President, hail to the chief. How could you resist? David Gura, NPR News.
It's 6:29. We're listening to NPR's Morning Edition on 89.9 KCRW, NPR News for Southern California.
This is Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Renee Montaigne.
And I'm Steve Inskeep. Time is running out if you want to trade your gas-guzzling clunker for a more fuel-efficient car and get a government rebate for doing it. The Cash for Clunkers program will officially end at 8 o'clock in the evening, Monday Eastern Time. It has succeeded well beyond expectations, and in a moment we'll hear about laid-off auto workers who have been rehired to meet the demand for new vehicles.
But there have been glitches in the Cash for Clunkers program. Many dealers say the government has been painfully slow in reimbursing them for the rebates they've already paid out. President Obama pledged to remedy that yesterday. NPR's Brian Naylor reports.
Cash for Clunkers started as a $1 billion program, but its popularity prompted Congress to add $2 billion more. Now that money is running out. The government says as of yesterday, more than 450,000 cars were sold under the program, adding up to $1.9 billion, and that it's time to bring the program, as one administration official put it, in for a soft landing. Speaking on a Philadelphia-based radio talk show yesterday, President Obama said the program has been a hit.
It has been successful beyond anybody's imagination, and we're now slightly victims of success because the thing happened so quick. There was so much more demand than anybody expected that dealers were overwhelmed with applications.
The demand was sparked by rebates totaling as much as $4,500, but some dealers have pulled out of the program, claiming they can't afford to front the rebate cash to any more customers until they get reimbursed by the government. Mr. Obama said his administration is addressing the backlog, tripling the number of government workers on the program.
I understand dealers want to get their money back as soon as possible, but the fact of the matter is, this is a good news story. They are seeing sales that they have not seen in years.
At the Fitzmall Hyundai and Subaru dealership in Rockville, Maryland, General Manager Scott Addison calls Cash for Clunkers a huge success.
We've delivered more cars than we expected. In fact, we're just about out of inventory on a lot of products. We're ordering today. We're actually putting deals together on cars that aren't here yet, in anticipation of this program being working out through this time period.
But it's not been without its headaches. Addison shows me a thick file that his salespeople must submit to the government for each deal they make under the Clunkers program.
I need proof of registration on the vehicle, so what I've got to do is I've got to show the current registration that's currently registered. If there's a lien, I've got to have a lien payoff, otherwise that's not going to be qualified. This is their form. It's a 5-page certification. It's an affidavit that the dealer's making, signing, and agreeing to.
And if something's not right, Addison says, the government sends the whole packet back. He says his dealers have received about 20% of the government rebate money on the deals they've made, but they're still waiting to be reimbursed for $2.5 million, which he admits makes him a bit anxious. General Motors and Chrysler say they will front their dealers' money until they receive their government checks. And while it's possible Congress could vote more money for Cash for Clunkers, the Obama administration says it's not seeking to extend the program. Brian Naylor, NPR News, Washington.
Let's go down to the General Motors Lordstown Assembly Plant in Northeast Ohio, where 2,200 people are back at work. They learned this week they'll be joined by nearly 1,100 more in the fall. That's thanks to hot sales of the subcompact Chevrolet Cobalt. The Cobalt's upscale replacement, the Chevy Cruze, is due out next spring, and that's seen by many as the real hope for GM. From member station WKSU, M.L. Schultze reports.
If Lordstown had city blocks, the GM assembly plant would cover about 45 of them. It's just that big. At its peak, the plant could have employed every man, woman, and child in the village of 3,600 and still had openings. Even Lordstown's exit off of the Ohio Turnpike, about 20 miles west of Youngstown, would not be there if not for GM. So the Chevy Cruze is a big deal here. GM has invested more than $350 million in retooling Lordstown, with 800 new robots, re-engineered supply lines, and a massive new body shop to consolidate Cruze production. Beginning in April, Lordstown will be turning out one of the few small cars that GM has designed and developed in decades. Tiffany King has spent a dozen years on the Lordstown assembly lines and remains proud of the cars of the past. But this one different.
The Cavalier was popular, it's still popular. The Cobalt, we're still moving in and whatever, but I think a little bit more excited with this one. Everyone's anticipating it. There's people at my church that are willing to not buy a car right now because they're excited about the new cruise.
David Green heads one of the 2 UAW locals here. Even during this summer's 9-week shutdown, some of his members were reconfiguring the plant floor for the cruise.
No offense to General Motors, but it's like we're finally putting effort into a car. We're finally building a small car that's going to have some serious impact on the marketplace. It's essential for our survival and for our future.
John Donahoe has more than 30 years with GM and took over as plant manager here 4 years ago. So he gets the perk of showing off the early model of the cruise.
I took it down to cruising in Hudson, Ohio, at the Acme Plaza, and people were just like, when are you going to start making it? So, in style, number one, the exterior. Number two, it's a great vehicle for the interior. It's a little more plush, and it's a great fuel economy. 40 miles per gallon, or maybe just a little more, with a turbo engine.
Lordstown workers don't only want the cruise to succeed, they say they need it to.
This car is going to be a big part of the General Motors backbone, and we know that we have to make this thing work. We have to make it work.
Jim Graham is president of the other UAW local at Lordstown. 2 years ago, both locals followed the national union into a strike against GM. Now they're working under a contract filled with wage and work rule concessions. But Graham says Lordstown has always had good labor management relations.
We are, number one, the highest volume plant in the world. At one time, we produced 112 Vegas an hour. And believe it or not, the Vega was a well-engineered car, but because of the demand, we started producing more and more and more per hour. People really couldn't keep up with the work. That's why it turned into a piece of junk. But the core of our people is still there.
The other UAW president, David Green, notes that that core will be doing business a different way because of the cruise retooling.
The whole system over here is special because it's flexible. It gives us the ability to build like we've never had before. So we're going to be able to change the products in line with market demand, which is huge.
Terry Golden's had to deal with change just about every day since she bought A&J's Family Restaurant up the road from the Lordstown plant in 2006. 6 weeks after she bought it, GM cut a shift, added it back, then cut 2. Contractors setting up for the cruise and good lunch specials kept her going throughout Lordstown's summer shutdown.
I'm hoping that with GM open, we'll get more business people traveling in and out of the area. Hopefully we'll get some to-go orders from the GM people themselves. And I don't know, hope things get back to normal soon. They haven't been normal since I opened, actually. I don't know what normal is yet.
About a year ago, the Lordstown plant had more than 4,000 workers on 3 shifts. About 2,200 returned this month after the 9-week shutdown. And Green says many of them have a different attitude.
We appreciate our jobs more today than we have really for some decades. For some people, you get a job at GM, it was almost like you had entitlements in life. And I think they recognize to those who really no entitlements that anything can happen at any given time. The world has just changed.
What Lordstown workers are hoping now is that the cruise will give them a new place in that changed world. For NPR News, I'm ML Schultze in Kent, Ohio.
It's 6:49. This is NPR's Morning Edition on 89.9 KCRW.
KCRW sponsors include Vintage Books, paperback publishers of the new novel A Mercy from Nobel Prize winner and author of Beloved, Toni Morrison.
Still ahead on Morning Edition, how successful was Afghanistan's presidential election yesterday? It's a question that's hard to answer.
Is it Obama's summer of love or the winter of his political discontent? I'm Matt Miller. For political provocation that's good for every season, join Ariana Huffington, Tony Blankley, Robert Scheer, and me for Left, Right, and Center. Today at 2:30, repeated at 7 on 89.9 KCRW and KCRW.com.
Support comes from the Opposite Theater, direct from Broadway, August, Osage County, starring Academy.